Afternoon. So my guest today, you might recognize him from about 7,000 television shows, movies, whatever. His name is Erik Palladino, and I met Erik in the 1980s. Hi, Erik.
Hi, Thea.
Great to see you.
Great to see you. We didn't just meet. I mean, we're gonna get deep, like
We met and lived together
and live together.
in the early 90s. Late, I met you
Mhm.
in 1988, but we lived together. I would say around 1989, 1990.
No, it was after college, wasn't it? It was after college. Yeah, it was like a year or
Well,
two
I
after
lived with
college.
you when I was graduating, so 1991 we lived together.
So yeah, so it was after college for me though. I wasn't
Right,
in
because you're
school
a year
still.
ahead of me.
But it had to be 92, Thea, because
Okay.
91, no, you weren't still in school, were you? You were in
I
Richardson.
know
I
that I
was.
lived with you because my family flew out for my Marymount graduation, and you were my roommate when my family was there because I was all proud to introduce you to my dad and everything. Yeah, so it had to be 91, 92. Let's just say.
So basically, Thea had a sweet deal in Stuyvesant Town, a Stuytown, town, and
You
I was out of
wanted to live with me
college.
because you wanted to be close to me, not because of my cheap rent controlled
I
apartment.
mean, we were friends, but I don't know if we were like super tight
No,
at that
we were
point. We
not.
were,
You
you know,
literally did it for the rent. I know.
yeah. So, but we were friendly. We went to the same school. I was a year older than you.
Right.
Um, and but I was on the 5-year program to graduate from Marymount. I took a semester off, and I almost failed out at one point, and I was a terrible student. And but then I guess a year later, I think I had a break. I was living with an. That's what it was. I was living with my ex-girlfriend, ex girlfriend, and I was in White Plains waiting tables, and I was working for my dad's heating contracting business, and I had my bachelor's degree in theater, and I wasn't really working, and I was like waiting tables and working with my dad, like right out of college.
Singing in your band.
I know I wasn't in the band yet either at that
Wow.
time, and I remember I was living with her. We were happy together, and one day I just looked at her, and I was in White Plains, and I'm like, it was like that moment in the movie where you're like, I'm either gonna follow my dream, or
Yeah. This is
I'm
it
g-
for me. This is my
I'm
life.
gonna become a heating contractor with my
Right.
dad. And like that decision happened so fast right out of college. Like I was already, because I was trying to get my own apartment. I didn't want to live with at home, and then I don't know how it came up with you. I think that's happened after, but I just said to her, I'm like, I gotta live in the city. I gotta be in the city if I want to be an actor. And I gotta pursue this. Fuck this like suburban, boyfriend, girlfriend living together thing. And
No.
then I came, and I think someone told me you needed a roommate or maybe needed a roommate. And then I don't know how that happened. Maybe you and I talked or what, I don't know. And
I probably told everyone I knew because I was living with that guy that turned into a little bit of a psycho.
mhm.
Um, and he was my roommate, and he decided one day out of the blue, like literally, I went to work at Houlihan's, wait tables, came home, and he had like cleaned me out. Remember, he robbed me blind, like took everything I owned, my television, my VCR,
Oh my
and
God.
remember, and he left a pile of blockbuster porno videos in the middle of my living room that were all
Yeah,
on my name, and I
yeah.
owed like $800. And he
and
put a
and
T-shirt
and
on the
and and,
wall.
and you got charged 50 cents because you weren't kind and rewind. You didn't be kind and rewind.
Nailed a T-shirt to the wall that said "sell out."
That is so funny.
But you know what?
um
I
and
was
then wait, and then it's so funny you just said. So like, not only do I think now that you just said what you said, is you worked at Houlihan's. Like, so I moved into your apartment. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, but it had like an alcove that had a big window. And I was like, and you were like, yeah, you could stay here. And then I guess like I put a bed on the ground, and and then I put up a wire and a curtain to
right.
separate the living room from the alcove, which was like
Ridiculous.
probably, and that was my bedroom for
You had no privacy, no door on your room. I had a door in
none.
my room,
Yeah,
and yeah,
yeah. I remember thinking like someday I'll have a door. I
we were
remember.
living like, I mean, come on, we were young, you were ambitious. I
Of
get it.
course.
That
But
was a
what
big
I
of a
just realized is, did you get me a job at Houlihan's? Because I worked at Houlihan's after this.
no. I got. Oh, did I get it? I got it through Brandy. Remember Brandy, the stripper, Brandy Davis? She got me the job at Houlihan's.
And then was this the one across the street from Wall Street? or a different
No,
business?
no, I worked at the one on Times Square across from
Okay,
Cat.
so I know what happened. You worked at Houlihan's, and you were probably like, "You should work at Houlihan's." And
Yeah,
then I was
yeah.
like, "Which one?" And then I worked at on Wall Street, directly across from the World Trade Center, and I remember going to work there, and and I think the rent was fairly cheap, but what was it, $300 a month for me? I
Yeah,
think,
yeah, $300 each, and it was huge.
and,
It wasn't like a
and
tiny
oh
apartment. It was a
no, it was
nice
big,
apartment.
and when you would go
Beautiful.
out of town for whatever reason, I was like, God, I'm a king, I'm a king,
Well, I stayed with my boyfriend a lot.
yeah, and
So you had to place yourself sometimes. It was a palace. So that's how I got to know you. Was back then you were going to be an actor, and you met a girl. I remember like pretty quickly when I was living there. I think you got a girlfriend pretty quick. Were you single the whole time?
no, I think you're referring to like maybe the ex-girlfriends that might have been. I didn't have a girlfriend.
Situationship, no girlfriend.
Yeah, I was very single at that time. You know what I mean? I granted I didn't. I never brought girls back to the
No,
apartment.
you never. But you never hit on me either. It's kind of insulting.
No, I thought about it a couple times.
Guys,
I did. But I was like, I live here. Like it's gonna ruin everything.
you just thought I was way
Yeah.
too into my stupid boyfriend that
Yeah,
I
you were very into your boyfriend. You had a lot of, if I recall, like a lot of push and pull drama. Right? Like it felt like you weren't, it wasn't like it was like a lot of back and forth, right? Am I correct in that assessment?
yeah, I went out with him for 16 years. And he
Yes.
was definitely into that for about a year. So for about
Yeah.
15 years, it was I had a boyfriend, but he was like really never like he bartended every night till like 6 in the morning, and
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
hardly ever saw him. And I think he gave me when I lived with you, I think he gave me Wednesday nights. We went on a date. That was it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember because Leslie Kahn, our old acting teacher, was now a big acting coach in LA. I remember I used to write in my diary. She made us take a diary in our acting class, and I used to write
Mhm.
about him in there. And she was like, "What?" I never comment on what people are saying because it's their personal life. But what are you doing with this guy?
Yeah, I think we all kind of thought that. I
He
remember
was
thinking that. I'm like, I think you could do better.
all right.
Um,
Rest in peace.
it's so funny though. It's like what you're doing now, and and the success that you're finding now later in life with all the stuff you've been doing is really it's like inspiring. It's pretty cool. And I'm happy for you.
Well, I could say the same to you, Eric. So I wanted to talk about we know so Eric was on ER, which is one of my favorite shows ever. So I made it's a blip in the little huge resume that you have, but it's iconic that you're on ER. And ever since then, and you were in U571, of course, and then you
Mhm.
had your own show over there, right? It was called
Yeah, yeah. The soldiers in Iraq,
I'm
about
going
squad
so
soldiers
far
with
back, and
box
now
graves.
ever since, and you've done so much. But then recently, you sent me like a year ago. I think it was like over a year ago. You sent me the script for your short, right? It was a
Oh
while
yeah,
ago,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and you were like, "Take a look at this," and then you filmed it. You made it, right?
We made it in the first festival we entered here in LA. We got in and we won Best Thriller Short last week.
And you wrote it and directed it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
this
yeah.
is it. This is your directing career starting now, no?
I mean, we'll see. I like writing more, to be honest with you. I've been writing now for 10, 15 years, and we almost sold a couple of shows. Remember, I made that show in Rwanda, I think I told
Right.
you about. And then that other show that we did a pilot with Maura Tierney and Eric McCormick was in it, and I was in it, and the same group of guys we made it with, and we've come close a couple of times. And I hate those Hollywood stars. We came close, but we did kind of come close on this last one. We came real close. And we shot it in Rwanda, and it was really funny. It was kind of about white savior complex,
Yeah, I remember
about these
reading
two self-involved actors from Los Angeles that go to Rwanda to volunteer at their friend's charity in Rwanda. And what better place to do comedy than Rwanda? Although the Rwandans loved that we did it. You know what I mean? They loved that we were kind of blowing up the what they're unfortunately known for. And one of the jokes that we had, terrible joke, but one of the jokes we had in future episodes was because my character's Armenian and we have a genocide, and so it's very Larry David. I was like, well, my genocide's was worse than your genocide.
you were like too soon.
We got competitive over genocides. It's but anyway,
Oh, I can't
it was
imagine why
pretty
that
edgy.
didn't come to air. I am shocked.
What was that?
I said, I can't imagine why that didn't come to air. I'm shocked.
But no, I mean, people, you know, we were edgy. You know, I think what happened with us, I mean, we were right. I mean, we were meeting with the head of a major studio, and he said we were going to have it, we were going to go into a deal, and then that week George Floyd hit,
Oh,
and
right.
everything died for us after that. So
Oh.
it was pretty rough.
Well, this is
Um,
what I love about you, Erik, is that it does not, nothing will get you down ever. Nothing will ever stop you. Nothing ever. We were just talking before I started recording. Erik showed me his wedding picture and I said, you know, I had never had a doubt that your marriage would last as long as it did, because I knew the second you introduced me to Jamie, like, this girl, there's no other girl that could tame you than her. And I think it's partly because she is so special, and you know this, so that you would
yeah,
never screw it up ever. But Erik did marry literally the perfect woman for him. And when I tell you, I've known Erik forever. We've stayed in touch forever. I know you. This is not like a little, I really consider you like a very close friend. And there's no other girl that could have kept your attention for this long. None.
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I think going into it, you said I knew you'd make it, and I was like, I didn't. You know, like I mean, I
Sorry,
really,
Jamie.
in my mind, I was like, yeah, you know, like I'm in love and I love her deeply, you know what I mean? But I was just like, I don't know if I'm a person that's, I was very, the first few years, it was not easy, you know what I mean? And Jamie and I, like, you know, we worked through some stuff, and, you know, and it was, I mean, nothing like, no one, you know, stepped out of the marriage,
Right,
nothing
right.
like that, but it was just, you know, I think what's great about her, and we do this thing in our, you know, we don't pray a lot, our family, we're not pray, you know, like religious people, but we do appreciations at our table every week or two, where every kid goes around and tells each other what they appreciate about each other and what they,
Wow.
you know, so
That would go fast in my family.
yeah, so we've been doing that since we're little kids, right? And to the fact that, like, even Paloma last night was like, Dad, I want to do appreciations, but don't tell the boys that was my idea tonight. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
like it's super cute, and everybody, and the boys, you know, my son that's 14 kind of rolls his eyes, but he still does it reluctantly. Some days you just pick one person, you do one appreciation, but some days you go around the table, you do everybody. And
right.
and so last night I told her, I said, you know, one of the things I appreciate so much about her is how unbelievably accepting she is
Of who you are.
of everybody as they are,
That's a
right?
good point, actually. That's a really good point.
As they are, right?
I believe you're right. And I don't know her that well, but obviously I've met her a bunch of times and she accepted me. So there you go.
Yeah, she's really like, you know, I'm like looking to, like with my boys, I'm always trying to like, you know, trying to get them to be better, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and not that she doesn't do that, but that's like almost my sole focus sometimes. And I'm like trying to like get them prepared for when they leave, get them
Right.
prepared for when they leave, you know, and within that, sometimes I lose a little bit of the present moment of appreciating how great they are as they are, right?
Right.
And Jamie, through just how she is, teaches me that by how she is with me, how she is with them. You know, she fully accepts, like, I mean, I think if I chose somebody else, as soon as they started not accepting me for how I am, whatever my quirks are, that would have given me a reason to get out. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
No,
oh,
you're right.
you don't accept me. I'm out. You know, I'm gonna find someone that will accept, you know, that kind of bullshit. Like, and
Yeah, you're a sneak attack though, because you seem so self-assured and like, I'm never going to change because I'm great, but I know you and you're always, always, always trying to better yourself. And no one could even make you do that. You just are. That's just who
no,
you are.
that's really funny. That's like what Jamie said the other night about appreciating me. And you know, she said, you know,
Oh,
you're always trying to
well,
like,
I,
you know,
have you ever been diagnosed with ADHD? I'm not a therapist, but have you ever thought about that? I feel like there's a little bit of that in you, that where like the reason why you went through so many girls is that you go from one to another, right?
I
Like,
mean, this is amazing that you took right now, Jamie. If she's watching this, she's like, you know, like, so both my boys are ADHD.
oh,
Both have
and
ADHD.
it's genetic.
What
It's correct.
they both present differently. My middle son is, you know, he's more like kind of a stereotypical ADHD, how, you know, people, you know,
Hyperactive
think he has
and
hyper, and
mine too.
will literally walk out of a classroom. Like, you know, and the
Mine
teacher's
too.
like, what are
I
you
get the
doing?
letters and
You
they're
know,
like, Rui keeps getting up during assignments. I'm like,
yeah,
welcome to Rui.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so, but my oldest son is he's actually, as he's grown, it's, you know, because sometimes it's like they kind of I don't know if you want to say grown out of it, but he is he's definitely worked on it, and he's improved greatly, and he's it just presents different, and he had more of an auditory processing thing going on, and anyway, but he's doing incredibly well, and so Jamie is always like, maybe you have a little ADHD. And I'm like, maybe. I'm like, 1,000%. Of course I undiagnosed ADHD. I mean,
No, I know. I didn't want to be too definitive because I'm not a
no,
therapist, but I'm pretty sure.
1,000%. I think the girl thing was a lot of it. I mean, I dated a lot,
Right.
and
It was quantity.
yeah, and I would always wind up meeting somebody within a year. I always joked, I'm like, yeah, but I always had a girlfriend. Like my buddy Jeff, that's known me for 25 years. He's like, you think you were this player? He goes, but I've been friends with you for 20, I'm sorry, for 35 years. He's like, ever since I've known you, you've always had a girlfriend. You've had, like, in the 5 years you were single, or before, when we first met before Jamie, he's like, you had a girlfriend 3.5 of the 5 years.
You
And I
did.
was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you always you would break up and then you would date a lot. But then what would happen is you date so many girls, you'd meet somebody. And I know this. I meet somebody that I liked. You know what I mean?
No, and you liked hard, like many Italians. You're passionate. You liked
yeah.
hard. So if you like someone, then you love them. That's the way.
Then yes, exactly.
That's how we are.
But I've made some bad decisions before, Jamie.
So what is next for
I'm
you?
sorry, not bad decisions, learning decisions.
Learning decisions.
Yes.
So what is next for you? Acting, directing, writing.
I mean, right now I'm on The Godfather of Harlem for
Right.
the whole season this season, so it's currently airing, and I'm writing two different projects right now. One, I'm writing it with a fairly big showrunner in town, and we'll see. It's slow going, but our outline's pretty much done, and it's a really good idea, and kind of a fluke how it happened, and he's one of the biggest writers in town. So,
if only one of your closest friends from college was the best script notes writer in the whole world, you could send it to make it even better.
I know, exactly. Well, you're going to have to help me with the thing that I'm writing on my own. That is like, because you know how it is. Like, I mean, I don't have a lit agent. I have actors agents and
Right.
stuff, and my agency is like really an actors agency, and so I'm not going to sell. It'll be almost virtually impossible for me to sell a script on my own. But
Right.
if I sell a script with this, showrunner, and get in, how it works. And then I could, be like, oh, they'll say, what else do you have? So the thing that I'm working on now is my what else do you have? Last year I wrote an all animated musical, and I wrote all the music to it.
You remember that? You sent me a song, I feel like.
Yeah. But that one, that one's, I still think that's an easy sell. I just, that's another one of those, you got to have the right people.
You remember the days when you're just first starting in acting, and they said, well, you can't be in SAG if you're not in a SAG thing, but you can't be in a SAG thing if you're at SAG. It's the same with writing. You're not going to make it till you attach a big actor or a big showrunner, and then once 100%. You do, then when you're in the club, you can write all the time. There aren't many good writers in Hollywood, I'm telling you. There aren't that many original ideas.
No, I know. It's
you're a commodity. It's just a matter of getting that first thing, just like your first acting gig.
You really got to get in. That's. I mean, look what happened to that guy Taylor Sheridan. I mean, he's obviously a great writer and wrote a couple great movie scripts. But now it's like he writes 1-page idea for like Tulsa King, and then someone else comes in and really writes it. You know what I mean? I mean,
you don't have to do the grind anymore when you're that level. You just need the grain of an idea, which you're probably getting from an intern anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Or Chat GPT.
Well, I'm excited to see you. You know what's funny? They had a bonus program on Threads where they paid me like $500 if I got like X amount of views. So I wrote a little thread about you saying I knew you because I knew a lot of people would comment so I could get the money. I'm just saying, I mean, it's money. And I said something like, oh, Erik Palladino from ER was my roommate in college. And oh my God, I have dropped names on that thread. I dropped Julia Roberts, Jennifer Lopez. The thread about you was my 100% most popular thread. I had 5,000 comments of everyone saying how much they love you. You have to go on my threads and look at it. You'll die when you see the fans that you have out there. I was like, wait a minute. here I am thinking I'm just going to get you only need 700 views to get $500 from Threads if you put a thread up when you're in this bonus program. So I was just looking for 700 people to look at it. You don't even have to comment, and I get $500. And
What?
I had like 8,000 comments. Erik Palladino, oh yeah, I loved him in this, I loved him in that. I'm like, what is
That's
happening?
amazing.
I know, I'm like, Erik, you're so famous. And it's not
And
just
then,
like
and
famous.
then I can't even, and then I can't even get an audition lately.
Well, it's not
it's
about being famous too. It's about that they are passionate about you. Like you as an actor, you on
that's amazing.
Maisel, you and I think it's because you have been on so many iconic shows. Like you're not just a bit character anymore.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
your face. You know this is going to be a,
Yeah.
a
It is the nicest thing. I mean, I find so like I still have to hustle for my gigs and stuff.
I know,
It's
I
like,
know. Everyone does.
you know what it is. Well, not everyone, but yeah, people that get like that next level
Most
of
people,
what was that?
most actors.
Yeah. But you know, like the people that get that next level in our town where it's like the town believes they're
You're one White Lotus part away from that level.
well, this is 100%, you know, this is what I always in the back of my mind remind myself of when I'm feeling
That's
down.
it.
But oh God, I lost my train of thought. My ADHD. How you doing?
Yeah.
Oh God, what were we talking about before that?
Sorry. So you were talking, we were just talking about show that you're in. Then what are you going to do next? Oh, about all the people that are your fans, what people think about you.
No. Oh my God, I've totally lost my train of thought.
We might have moved on from that.
Yes, let's move on.
All right. So anyway, so you're going to write, you're going to send me your stuff. We're going to make it better. You're going to sell it. You're going to be in the next White Lotus. You're going to be probably,
that's
you're
what
going
I'd
to be
like,
Walton Goggins. Next time when
Mhm.
I ask you to be back in my pod, you're going to like be like, sorry, man, I'm like a year booked up on podcast.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, whatever I do, like I get asked to do, you know, podcasts every now and I usually say no. And the reason why I say no is I I say you know and like a lot still.
Oh, I do too.
I know, but I hate it. So when I hear myself talk in long form, I hate hearing me say, you know, and like it
Well,
bothers me so much that I just go, I don't want to do the podcast. 'Cause I'm
everybody's
gonna
by
listen.
their own voice. My dad has two top 10 rated NPR podcasts. They're movie review podcasts. So he's watching this and he's telling me I touch my hair too much. And he said, I touch my hair too much and I fawn all over my guests too much. He said, you can't do that. You can't just say how amazing your guests are. I'm like, but A, they are. I only have amazing people on here. And B, what is wrong with complimenting people too much? He's like, it just makes you seem like a fan. I'm like, well, I am.
I mean, I think it's actually, I think you have a good balance. I mean, you know, so I think it's a good balance because, you know, you're also, it's like you're the lead of the movie and people want to relate to you. And
Right.
so the people that are watching hopefully are fans as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, if you have excitement towards your guests, that's a good, and that actually makes the guest feel, you know, appreciated. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's what I was thinking. But I mean, I'm not going to take that advice. I'm still going to fawn. Well, especially you. I don't know about anyone else. We'll see. We'll see who else I get on here. Let's call. I'm going to call Moira Kelly. Let's get her on here.
Moira Kelly. I mean,
Come on. That's a big one.
I mean, I don't know if she's not even around anymore, right?
No, so she left and moved to like, I want to say Idaho, but it's somewhere, to have 3 kids and be like on a farm and not be in the business anymore. So I mean, a lot has come out about that show she was on, not good things about some cast members of her. So maybe that's why One Tree Hill, you know, you've heard.
Yeah. I'm friends with Bethany Joy Lenz. You know, Joy and I did Happy Days the musical with Gary Marshall at the Falcon Theater, like, I don't know, 20 years ago, 21 years ago. And we did a couple of workshops because they were trying to take Happy Days the musical to Broadway. In fact,
Right.
I did it with Carole King and Paul Williams.
Oh,
And it was really cool. And Gary Marshall was super cool. And Joy played Pinky Tuscadero. And who do you think I played?
Who could it be? The Fawn.
Not Richie Cunningham.
Richie Cunningham.
No, I played the Fonz and it was fun. It was super fun.
I wish I saw that. Well, yes. And did you guys swap Moira stories or no?
I feel like we talked about it back then. I don't remember what we talked about though. I mean, it was so many
All
years
right,
ago.
so we went to college with Moira Kelly. She was super nice in college. Everyone always asked me about her. I'm like, well, she had like a lot of kids in her family, so I could relate to her. And she was a beautiful singer. Remember, she had this opera voice,
Oh, beautiful,
like
beautiful. Yeah.
amazing. And then she was in like the freaking Lion King. You know, I worked for a casting director. We put her in a like a small movie that she was in, like one of her first movies in my casting. So just
Well, I mean, I mean, I could spill the tea here, right? This is if you're going to
spill
spill tea,
it.
whatever. But we were really, tight. It was like me,
Right.
Maura, and like two or three other people. We were like the St. Elmo's Fire Five, right?
Yeah.
And out of college, she like right at the college showcase, only Moira and I got signed to an agent.
Right.
In
ICM.
fact,
ICM, right? Was it ICM?
she got signed to ICM. I
Yeah.
got signed to like a
Oh,
smaller
so
New
you
York
both had
agent
agents though.
right out of college, yeah. And in fact, two of the agents, the agent that found me is no longer an agent, but he's still one of my closest friends,
Oh
and
wow.
now in the business. And then the other agent, his partner Nancy, is like my closest female friend,
Right.
and married Jamie and I. She's a therapist now, so it makes sense, agent to therapist. But Moira completely blew all of us off right out
I
of
know
school.
I heard
Do you
about this.
remember that? Do you remember that? Like it
Oh,
was like and
because she got too big, like she thought she was too famous for you. Why do you think that
she
is?
just blew everybody off. She just totally
Wow.
blew everybody off. All her like close friends from college, and look, that's fine. I mean, it's funny, like, and I think back on over the years, because I've had many friends over the years hit it big. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna
Right.
say who,
No, I know
but
you have.
pretty much it's pretty consistent, like everyone kind of blows, like and you're
Because you
like,
think they're just genuinely too busy, or because they are
I
just
think it's a
hungry?
combination of genuinely too busy, but also like, you got new famous friends. You know what I mean? Like, like it happens a lot, like, and by the way, not just to me, like, it happens like you're like, oh, like I hear it from the other actors. It happens often. It's rare that the person's the other way. I mean, I certainly, when I was at my height
You
in the
got
middle of
big.
New
You
York,
still talk to me, and I
I've
was
talked to everybody.
yeah.
I was like, and I would share everything. I'd be like, this is so awesome. You know what I mean? Like, like I would,
What
I
about
always
Reggie
got to,
Rock? You ever talk to Reggie Rock? I talked to
I
him.
do, Reggie, I speak to, probably once every few years,
Yeah,
he's
me
doing
too.
really well, and,
You know that when I moved to LA, I literally was in a mental hospital for 3 months. I had a nervous breakdown. I moved to LA, I had no money. I weighed like 80 pounds. I was like literally almost on the street. And Reggie drove, I will never forget this, drove to Westwood, pulled down the window of his like tinted red car with tinted windows and handed me $200. I will never forget it. $200. Here you go. I heard, I knew you were struggling. I just wanted you to have this. I'm like, are you kidding? Are you
that's
kidding me?
that's amazing.
I know. He goes,
That's
where are you? I just want to come by and say hi. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm in Westwood. I'm just walking around crying probably. And he drove up and he was like, here, you don't need to thank me. That's it. And drove away.
Are you serious? That's
I'm
amazing.
joking. And now he's like a big time director. His wife's a big time director.
Oh, it's huge. You know
He's
what I mean? Like, you
Reggie
know,
Bythewood. We're calling him Reggie Rock.
I feel like he almost cast me, or they almost cast. They brought me in years ago for a movie that she was doing. And I feel like they were like trying to cast me, but no, I had him over, I think for dinner, like 8, 6, 7 years ago with his son. And I haven't seen him since, but we talked, we exchanged.
That's pretty recent in Hollywood.
Yeah.
8 years, you're pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, right.
You're
I
close
know.
friends if you saw him 8 years ago. I always side chat with him a lot. Not a lot, but I'll reach out to him every once in a while. I'll be like,
Well, he
Reggie.
he he was like, he's from the Bronx. I'm from Yonkers, and so when we were going to school together, I used to drive from Yonkers to Marymount my first year at Marymount, and so I would drive him back sometimes to the Bronx and drop him off at his house in the Bronx back in the day, and like when we were 18 and 19 years old.
Eric, I
Yeah.
worked for him at Grand Gelato. He was the manager of Grand Gelato across the street from Yorkville. I worked it for him. I sold gelato, and I was his girlfriend juggler. Like he had more than one girlfriend, and I had to keep them all like on the phone.
Oh, that's
I had
amazing.
to keep them separate, not knowing about each other. I did that for him. So maybe that was what the $200 was for.
I see. It was a little payback for that. Yeah, yeah.
He was the player. He was the real player. You're the player on TV. He was the player in
I
your life.
mean, he stayed a player for a while, I guess, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I stayed single until I was 34 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not single. Well, no, I met Jamie. I was 34, so I got married at 37.
So you sowed your
37,
oats. You had
37.
enough.
No, I got married at, wait a minute, 2005. So how old was I? 68, 78, 88. So I was 37. Yeah, yeah.
So you
Yeah.
had your days. I remember a lot of you. I can remember a lot of your girlfriends like to their faces right now. I can remember the one before Jamie. I have a picture of her in my photo album because you brought her to a party of mine. The one with the long hair, the really pretty one. Before extensions, but she looked like she had extensions. The big.
Are you talking about
brown.
the English girl?
Yes.
Yes, Sarah Jane Potts.
Yeah.
And then before her was Tina Barr. Do you remember Tina?
Yes, Tina. Well,
Tina looked like
maybe Tina was the one you brought to my party. I'll have to show you this picture.
Tina looked a lot like Natalie Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She was
she's
gorgeous.
very, very.
They're
pretty.
all gorgeous.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Still scammer. Eric wrote a song called Stealth Scammer back when we were roommates. And this is before social media, by the way, before even camera phones. And you were telling me when you were talking about it, he said, Thea, I have a song. I don't know if it's anything, but I can picture the music video. And in the video, I'm talking to just Stealth Scammer. And then I look at the camera. And I'm like, Stealth Scammer, right? And you were before your time. This is way before selfies and self-referential media.
So
and you were like, this is going to break the freaking VH1 MTV.
It is funny. I do think back on like, my God, if Instagram and social media was around during like the ER days alone, right?
Right.
Like that show had 30 million people in the United States a week watch it.
No,
so just being on that show as a regular, I would have instantly had 4 to 5 million followers.
Well, I had the copy for a long time. I might even still have it. I think it was like Entertainment Weekly or one of those magazines, hard magazines, and they had a little blurb about you, and it says, the wisecracking Dr. Dave Malucci is the newest character on ER, and I cut it out and everything because I was so excited. Like, that was my old roommate.
Oh, the publicity machine behind ER was quite crazy. I mean, I had People magazine spreads and
remember, I went to your house I went to your house in Hancock Park, and you called it the house that ER built.
I mean, the funny thing is, I always say people come to this house like I literally built this one, right? And you know that, like and when people come here, they're like, because it's a really nice house, like this, like this house.
I know, I've seen many pictures.
It was a junk house when I bought it. It was like a total junk house in a beautiful neighborhood. And then we tore it down to the studs, and I general contracted it myself with Jamie's grandfather, like kind of guiding me. And Jamie interior designed the whole thing, and I did more structural stuff. And but when people come here, I haven't been a series regular on a show. I mean, I was on the Netflix one, but then they killed it 3 years ago. But I always joke, this is like a series regular house.
Series regular. Well, this is what it can get.
And I can't get a gig that lasts more than a year. So like, I'm like, this is not indicative of my career. I always tell me, I'm like, I'm a recurring guest star at this point. This is I slid into this house because of the house in Hancock Park. Right. Because I bought that in 1999. I got very, very, very lucky that I bought a house when I was 30 years old.
Right. A great real estate deal. But also you being a series regular didn't hurt.
No, it didn't hurt at all. But I remember at the time when I bought it, my parents and people, like my friends, were like, what are you doing, dude? Why would you buy this house? Like, it was like a family house, and I was a bachelor, and I was like, well, so everyone's going to want a family house. And, and I got friends that come in and out of town, and it's enough rooms for people to sleep. And so I kind of bought it with that in mind, but yeah, I kept that house until 2007.
Right, you were renting it out for a long time too.
Yeah, rented it out for a couple of years there. Yeah.
Yeah, not anymore. You sold it.
Sold it to the people that were renting it.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're still there.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yeah. Look at Eric. You gave someone else a home. Look at that.
I gave them a home.
I'm so happy that you came on my podcast. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to read your scripts. Everyone can't wait to see your directorial debut. Right?
Yeah, yep. Did I send it to you yet? Did I send it to you yet?
No, I haven't seen. I saw the script a long time ago, but I haven't seen the actual film. Send it.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Bye, Eric. Love you. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Love you. Thank you, Thea.
Okay. Bye.